privilege to be sharing Torah teaching with you today in such a distinguished presence. So the parasha, the chapter that we read today is called Shmini, which means the eighth. And it refers to the eighth day. And as Reb Zalman was talking this morning about the number 7 having very special significance for the earthly realm, 7 is the days of the week, the days of creation, the measure of earthly time. 8 is beyond. 8 is beyond. So just knowing that this is occurring on the 8th day really makes it a very, very extra special beyond day. Beyond the normal confines of time. It's really like in Mashiach time, in Messianic time. And even now, in our culture, the symbol for infinity is an 8 on its side. So we know the 8 is special. The chapter starts on this very special 8th day. It's the day when the Mishkan, the sanctuary, is being consecrated. And it's when the divine glory reveals herself to the people, when the Shekhinah dwells within the people. And it happens after 7 days of very intense preparation by Moshe, Moses, and Aharon, Aaron, and his 4 sons. And it was the day when the Kohanim, the priests, would begin leading the nation. And the week before, Moshe sanctified the Mishkan, the sanctuary, all the holy kelim, the holy instruments, and the mizbeach, the altar, by pouring holy oil onto everything. And there's a description of Moshe pouring the holy oil onto the mizbeach, the altar, 7 times, sprinkling oil 7 times around. And then Moshe anointed also Aharon and his children so they could be the high priest and the 4 sons were second in command. Then there's a description of all the ceremonies that take place on the 8th day in order to sanctify the Mishkan. And there's sacrifices that people bring. They bring bulls, they bring calves, they bring rams. The animals are slaughtered. The blood is sprinkled. Aharon, the high priest, dips his fingers in the blood, sprinkles it around, pours the blood on the base of the altar, all around. And then Aharon comes out. Oh, and then Aharon does the Hanif Tunifah that Reb Zalman was talking about, the lifting up. But really what it means is waving. It's like, we do a wave. Aharon did a wave with the breast and leg of the animal. He did a Hanif Tunifah, did a wave. And then Aharon and Moshe blessed all the people. They raised up their hands. And then after they blessed the people, Vayera Kavod Adonai El Kol Ha'am. The glory of God was shown to all the people, not just the priests and the rabbis and the high ones. Every single person, man, woman, child, old person, everybody saw Kavod Adonai, the glory of God. And then the fire came out, consumed the animals, all the people saw, they sang, they fell on their faces. It was amazing. And then, the Sifra says, the Oto Sha'ah Hafsa HaPuranut. At that very hour, disaster struck. In the midst of sacred joy, at the moment when Kavod Adonai Yireh El Kol Ha'am, and the glory of God is revealed to all the people, we have the story of Nadav and Abihu, the 2 sons of Aharon, the high priest. And in chapter 10, verse 1, it says, the sons of Aharon, Nadav and Abihu, each took his fire pan. They put fire in them and placed incense upon it. Vayakrivu lifnei Adonai Eish Zara Asher lo tzivah otam. And they brought before God a strange fire, Eish Zara, a strange fire, that he had not commanded them to bring. Vatinzei Eish milifnei Adonai vatochal otam vayamutu lifnei Adonai. A fire came out from before God, and we know Lifnei Adonai can also mean in the face of God or inside God, and it consumed them, and they died inside the face of God. And Moshe says to Aharon, his brother, in the name of God, Bikrovai echadesh v'alpnei kol ha'am echabed. I will be made holy by those near to me, and in the face of the whole nation I will be honored. And Aharon responds. What does he respond? Anybody know? Silent. Vayidom Aharon. Aharon was silent. and the family was forbidden to mourn. Right after that, God speaks directly to Aaron and warns him and his remaining sons that they should not drink any wine before entering the sanctuary or they will die. From there we get the laws of kashrut, discernment, groundedness. The reason I was going to talk a lot about the laws of kashrut, but that's a whole other talk. But really, the only really important point for this is the reason that we were given the laws of kashrut. The reason that God gives us for the laws of keeping kosher are V'hitam kedoshim ki kadosh ani, so that you will be holy because I am holy. So, looking back at the story of Nadav and Avihu, the rabbis gave a lot of reasons why these two sons of the high priest, second in command of the whole nation, who really were just enthusiastically bringing their offering to God, were consumed. Why were they consumed? So, some say they were drunk, because right after that we got the commandment not to drink before coming into the sanctuary. Some say they were haughty. The Rambam, Maimonides, said it was a sin of intellectual vanity. They were filled with a sense of their own importance. And they entered the innermost sanctuary. They got too close. Some rabbis say it was because they didn't consult with each other. They each took their own fire pan, and they weren't doing it together. In the Hamalibowitz says their sin was unbridled religious ecstasy. And the Rashbam says that by satisfying their inner impulses for ecstasy, they were worshiping themselves and not God. The Kli Yakar says, Yesh omrim shelo haya lahem banim, v'yesh omrim shelo haya lahem nashim. Some say it was because they didn't have sons, and some say it was because they didn't have wives. What's that mean? Think about that for a minute. So we're told that Nadav and Avihu were unmarried because they were haughty and they thought nobody was worthy of them. That's the truth. They were the sons of Aharon, they were the nephews of Moshe. Their grandfather was Nachshon, who was chief of all the 12 tribes and the first person to enter the Red Sea up to his moment. So they thought, what woman could be worthy of a man such as us? Because of this, they could not be full leaders, because our tradition does not honor asceticism or monasticism. As Reb Zalman says in his book Magic of the Ordinary, Recovering the Shamanic in Judaism, mystics are implored to stay grounded while transcending, to be involved in a physically intimate relationship, and preferably also to be strapped down with the responsibilities of family life. So really you need to have a way to reconnect, to get that down. And Nadav and Avihu could not. They entered the divine presence. They went inside the face of God and they were consumed. So it's an interesting and important teaching. There's a story in the Talmud about the four who entered the Pardes. Four rabbis who entered the paradise. They ascended to heaven, utilizing different permutations of the divine name, which is a Kabbalistic shamanic technique. So Ben Azai gazed at the divine presence and died. Ben Zalman gazed and he lost his sanity. Elisha ben Aruya lost his faith, but Rabbi Akiva entered in peace and left in peace. So Reb Zalman has taught that Rabbi Akiva was the only one who emerged intact because he was the only one of the four in a stable, loving relationship. And he made love with his wife Rachel before he entered and when he got out. So I learned from this that lovers manifest the divine presence right here on earth. So our rabbis say that Nadav and Avihu also entered the Pardes. But like Ben Azai, they could not find their way back. They merged with the divine and they were consumed. They had no lifeline to keep them attached. And they were unable to find the divine presence here on earth. So up until now, we have all assumed that what Nadav and Avihu did was a bad thing. But we can, we say the Torah has 70 faces. So we can look at this with another face and quote Reb Shefa Gold, who says maybe they didn't do wrong, maybe they did right. Maybe it was a reflection of the pure soul yearning to return to its essence. In ecstasy, wild abandon, and death seen not as a punishment, but instead as a passionate divine embrace of beloveds who had reached perfection. And that was why the family was forbidden to mourn, because God was celebrating their return. And when it says that Aharon was silent, it says Vayidom Aharon, not Vayishtok Aharon. And Vayidom is more of a sense of calmness and centeredness and quiet than just silence. So another thing to think about. I'm going to end with a little bit of meta-etymology. The roots of the word shmini, shin, mem, nun, form the word shemen, which is oil, the anointing oil. And we know the anointing oil had a lot of significance in this parasha. It had the ability to change state from whole, mundane to kodesh, not only of people, but also of things. And Rabbi Heschel of Acts says that when Moshe was anointing the Mishkan with those 7 sprinklings and anointing the holy tools that came in, that he was actually bringing them to life. He's bringing them to life. He was causing them to resonate with the divine presence. So that's pretty amazing. The anointing oil is very powerful stuff, and we know that it was later used to anoint kings and the Mashiach. The Mashiach is the anointed one. It comes from the word anointing, the Messiah. So if you take Shemin and you break it down to the two letter roots, you get Sham, man. There is the mana, the sustenance. Or you could get Sham, Nin, and the Arba Minim are the 4 species or distinctions, so there is a distinction. Or you could get Shem, Nin, which is distinguishing by name, which is really shamanism. So the word shaman actually is a Siberian word, and it means boundary crosser. Hebrew, same word. And I spoke to Gershon Riggler, he's the shaman rabbi, he knows everything about shamanism and Judaism, and I asked him what is the Hebrew equivalent of a shaman, and he said Baal Shem, Shaman. The master of the name is Shem, so Shaman, shaman. So it's clear that the rituals of shmini, with the pouring of the sacred oil, and the 7 times, and the blood, and the waving of the, and not even mentioning the whole thing about kashrut and believing that we take the animal's characteristics inside with our soul, those are all shamanic practices that lead us to the divine. Right? And cause the divine presence to be viewed in front of all the people. But ancient Hebrew wisdom also introduced the concept of being kadosh. And along with the warning of Nadav and Avihu, which extended into the realm of the ecstatic, by following that story with the laws of sobriety and the laws of kashrut, we are shown the importance of discernment and responsibility. And in the white spaces between the letters, we learn the importance of the earthly erotic connection which manifests divinity in the mirroring of the Tzelem Elohim, the divine spark between lovers. And there is the distinction, Sham, Min. We are warned against unbridled, drunken religious fervor, against getting lost and consumed into a crude cleaving to God, because while the ability to see outside the box is essential for leadership, for prophecy, for paradigm shifts, we must never lose sight of the box. If we want to be in the presence of God and please to God and be able to return to this reality, we need the discernment to be anchored here in the physical plane, grounded in a container of kedusha, holiness, and there is the substance, Sham, Man. Good job. Torah.